1 month after my daughter's wedding, the photographer called me and whispered, "Sir, I noticed something terrible in the photos. Come immediately, alone, and don't say anything to your daughter. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments." The phone rang just as I sat down my coffee. Tuesday morning, quiet house, financial report spread across my desk, the kind of peaceful moment I'd earned after 40 years building Whitmore Hardware, 3 stores across Phoenix, good business, good life. I almost didn't answer the unknown number. "Mr. Whitmore," the woman's voice trembled. "This is Emily Carson. I photographed Claire's wedding last month. I need to see you immediately, alone. Please don't tell your daughter." My hand tightened on the phone. "What's wrong?" "I can't explain over the phone, but I found something in the photographs, something very serious. The air in my office changed, became thinner somehow." "What kind of something?" "Tomorrow morning, 900, my studio downtown. Please, Mr. Whitmore, come alone." Before I could respond, Megan's voice exploded from the kitchen. "Dad, I told you 3 times already I need that car." "My Honda is embarrassing. You promised you'd ask him today." Travis's laugh rumbled from the living room, some television show blaring beneath it. "I'll be there," I said into the phone, barely hearing my own voice. Emily exhaled. "Thank you. I'm so sorry, Mr. Whitmore. I really am." She hung up. I sat motionless at my desk, the phone still pressed to my ear, staring at the framed photograph on my wall. Claire in her wedding dress, radiant, Brandon beside her in his tuxedo. 1 month ago, $65,000 I'd spent on that day, worth every penny to see my eldest daughter happy. Something very serious in the photographs. "Dad," Megan appeared in my doorway, phone in one hand, car keys in the other. "Did you hear me? I need money for a new car. The Honda is 7 years old, and it's humiliating." I looked at my youngest daughter, 31 years old, living in my house for 4 years now, temporarily. She'd said when she moved in after her divorce. Travis had followed 6 months later. No rent, no end date. "We'll talk about it later." "Sweetheart, later I need to go to the dealership this week. Melissa got a new Lexus and I can't keep showing up in that piece of junk." I turned back to my computer screen. The numbers blurred. "Dad, are you listening later?" "Megan." She huffed and disappeared. Her footsteps stomped up the stairs. A door slammed. I picked up my coffee. Cold now. Through my office window, the Paradise Valley morning stretched bright and cloudless. July heat already building. Everything looked normal, felt wrong. The day crawled forward. I tried focusing on inventory reports, quarterly projections, payroll schedules. My mind kept circling back to Emily's trembling voice. The wedding had been perfect. Hadn't it? Claire had glowed. Brandon had been attentive. The ceremony at the Botanical Gardens. Reception at that upscale resort, everything elegant, tasteful, expensive. What could possibly be wrong with the photographs? Around noon, Travis wandered into my office without knocking. Never knocked, just walked in like he owned the place. "Hey, Pops? Megan says you're being weird about the car thing." I didn't look up from my computer. I said we'd discuss it later. "Yeah, but she's pretty set on it. Maybe just give her the money. Keep the peace." He leaned against my doorframe, arms crossed, 38 years old, no job, living off my daughter's allowance, which meant living off me. "Travis, I'm working." Sure, just saying. Happy wife, happy life. Right." He grinned and left. Happy wife. He'd never married Megan. 4 years together, living in my house, and he couldn't be bothered to make it official. But he had opinions about how I should spend my money. I stood and walked to my window. Below, my pool sparkled unused. The guest house where Megan and Travis stayed sat at the far edge of the property. Separate entrance, full kitchen, 2 bedrooms. I'd had it built, thinking visiting grandchildren might use it someday. No grandchildren, just Megan and Travis. The afternoon bled into evening. I heated leftover pasta, ate alone at my kitchen counter while Travis occupied my living room, and Megan video called someone upstairs, her laugh piercing through the ceiling. At 7:30, my doorbell rang. Claire stood on my front step, perfect as always, tailored blazer, designer jeans, That smile she'd inherited from her mother. My eldest, my successful one, marketing executive, beautiful apartment in Scottsdale, married to Brandon Hale, investment banker. Hi, Dad. She kissed my cheek and walked past me into the house. I was in the neighborhood. Thought I'd stop by. Paradise Valley to Scottsdale wasn't the neighborhood, but I didn't mention it. She settled on my couch, crossed her legs, looked around the living room like she was evaluating a property. How are you? You look tired. Long day, business things. She picked up a framed photo from my side table, her and Megan when they were kids. Studied it, set it back slightly off-center. Brandon and I have been house hunting. We found the most incredible place in Scottsdale. 4 bedrooms, pool, mountain views, absolutely perfect. I sat in the chair across from her, waited. The thing is, we need to move fast. The market's competitive right now. We need help with the down payment. She smiled warmly. $40,000, said the way someone asks to borrow a cup of sugar. A hollow ache opened inside my chest. 40,000, I repeated. Is that a problem? A barely noticeable edge crept into her voice, so slight most people wouldn't catch it. Dad, we need to move fast. I thought you'd want to help us start our life together properly. I looked at her, really looked. The designer clothes, manicured nails, a smile that didn't fully reach her eyes. Let me think about it. Sweetheart, her smile faltered. Think about it, Dad. This is important. I need to review some things. She stood abruptly. Fine, but don't take too long. She kissed my cheek colder this time. Love you, Dad. Call me soon. I watched her Mercedes disappear down the street. $40,000, as if I'd already agreed, as if my money were simply hers. Inside, Travis was laughing at my TV. Megan's voice drifted from upstairs, and something in me shifted. My house suddenly didn't feel like my house, or maybe I was finally seeing it clearly. Tomorrow morning, Emily Carson's studio. Whatever she found in those photographs, I had a feeling it would explain everything. I left the house before Megan woke up. I didn't want questions. Didn't want Travis asking where I was going with that look he always had. Like everything I did needed his approval in my own home. The drive to downtown Phoenix took about 25 minutes. Tuesday morning traffic down the 51, then a few turns into the Arts District. Emily Carson's studio, an old warehouse converted into a photography space, sat between a ceramics shop and a mural-painted cafe. Her name was printed on a brass plate beside the door. My hands were steady on the steering wheel, but my mind kept playing her words back. Something very serious. Something in the photographs. I parked across the street, took a breath, and stepped out into the already warm Arizona morning. Inside, the studio smelled faintly of coffee and printer ink. Large portraits hung neatly on the walls, weddings, families, corporate headshots. Soft morning light filtered through tall, dusty windows. Emily met me at the entrance. She looked younger than I remembered from the wedding day, mid-40s maybe, but her eyes carried a tired heaviness. Mr. Whitmore, she said, wringing her hands nervously. Thank you for coming. She locked the door behind me. I have everything set up in the editing room. I followed her past the gallery space, down a short hallway into a smaller room dominated by a giant monitor and shelves of equipment. The window looked out into an alley. Pale light made the dust in the air shimmer. Can I get you some coffee? Water, I'm fine, I said. Though I wasn't fine. My stomach felt twisted in knots. Please, just show me. She nodded, sat at her computer, and the screen hummed to life. I stood behind her chair. Mr. Whitmore, I almost didn't call you. She swallowed hard. But if I were in your shoes, I'd want to know. Please understand I didn't go looking for this. Show me, I repeated. Her fingers hesitated a second, then moved across the keyboard. The monitor filled with images from Claire and Brandon's wedding. Claire walking down the aisle, Brandon waiting at the altar, guests smiling, the ceremony, the reception, the flowers, the first dance, beautiful moments, perfectly lit. Those are the standard shots. Emily said quietly, what everyone saw. Then she clicked open another folder. This is from 2 hours before the ceremony. My breath caught. I was at the venue early. She continued. Testing exposures through the terrace window. I wasn't trying to photograph anyone. I was just adjusting the light. She clicked once more. And there it was. My hands gripped the back of her chair so hard my knuckles whitened. Brandon, in his tuxedo, jacket unbuttoned, tie draped loosely around his neck, pressed against a red-haired woman, not my daughter. They were kissing deep, intimate. His hands in her hair, her arms locked around his shoulders. Not a friendly hug, not a goodbye, not a drunken mistake, a practiced, familiar embrace. How long before the ceremony was this, I asked, my voice distant, hollow. 2 hours exactly, she said, pulling up a technical window. The metadata shows the timestamp. GPS coordinates match the venue. She clicked through the digital fingerprints, the file information, the raw EXIF data. Everything airtight, forensic-level evidence. There are more, she said softly. She clicked again. Another angle. Then another. Brandon's face visible, confident, certain, not ashamed, not hesitating, like a man who knew exactly what he was doing. My vision blurred at the edges. In one shot, the woman's left hand rested on Brandon's chest. A wedding ring gleamed on her finger, a gold band, diamond. The red-haired woman wasn't just someone else's girlfriend. She was someone else's wife. Do you know who she is? I asked. Emily shook her head. I didn't recognize her from the guest list. She opened a drawer and pulled out a small flash drive. Everything is here, she said. All the photos, all the metadata, time verification, technical documentation. I made copies. She held it out like something fragile. I don't know what you plan to do, but you deserve to know the truth. I took the drive, closed my fist around it. You did the right thing, I said. The drive home was a blur. My hands tightened around the steering wheel so hard it hurt. My mind raced. Why marry my daughter when you were with another woman 2 hours before the vows? Why go through a $65,000 wedding? Why make promises? Why smile in those photos unless the marriage itself didn't matter? Unless something else did? Money. A vulture-like thought circled my mind the entire drive back to Paradise Valley. By the time my house came into view, sitting quiet under the rising heat, the flash drive in my pocket felt like a brick. Inside, nothing had changed, but I had. Travis was sprawled across my recliner, watching TV, waving a half-empty beer bottle without looking at me. Hey, old man, grab me another beer while you're up. From upstairs, Megan's voice echoed. Dad, is that you? I need to talk to you about money for the spa this weekend. The door clicked shut behind me, quietly, calmly, and right then something inside me snapped. I sat in my office long past midnight, the flash drive Emily had given me resting on the desk beside my laptop like a live grenade. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the photos again, Brandon's hands tangled in that woman's hair, her wedding ring pressed against his chest, both of them acting like they had no obligations in the world, let alone a wedding scheduled in 2 hours. I opened my laptop and pulled up the wedding budget spreadsheet. $65,000, venue, catering, flowers, live band, decor. Every detail Claire had wanted. But she'd been oddly insistent about one thing: cash gifts. No registry, no household items, no traditional presents, just cash. It's more practical. Dad, I'd thought she was being modern, responsible. Now I wasn't so sure. I grabbed a legal pad and started writing things down. Numbers, dates, details that suddenly didn't look so innocent. 200 guests. Most were my business partners, suppliers, longtime friends, people who respected me and by extension, respected Claire. Every one of them had left a gift envelope. I remembered the overflowing gift table at the reception. Claire had hired someone just to collect and catalog the envelopes. She'd told me the total the week after, $45,000 in cash and checks. I wrote that number down, circled it. Then another memory hit me like a punch. My business partner, Marcus, had handed Brandon a check directly at the reception. Start your life right, son, he'd said. $15,000 handed straight into Brandon's pocket. Add that to the pile. $60,000 collected at the wedding alone. I stared at the number until the ink blurred. Why marry Claire at all? Why go through the ceremony? Why pretend? Unless I didn't want to write the next thought. but my hand moved anyway, unless the wedding was a financial arrangement. My stomach twisted. The night dragged on. I made coffee around 3, stood at the kitchen window staring into the dark desert, somewhere in Scottsdale. Claire was sleeping beside the man who'd been wrapped around another woman hours before their vows. Maybe she didn't know. Maybe she didn't care. That second possibility chilled me far more than the first. At 7 a.m., I showered and dressed. Khakis, polo, simple, steady. Then I left before Megan or Travis could corner me with demands or questions. I drove downtown to the Phoenix branch where I handled my business banking. Patricia Williams, the branch manager, greeted me warmly. Whitmore. What brings you in this morning? I wanted to verify a check I wrote. A wedding gift for Claire, $20,000. Just want to make sure it cleared correctly. She typed on her keyboard. Yes, here it is. Cleared without issue. Deposited into the joint account. The words struck me like cold water. Joint account, I asked casually. Yes, sir. Claire Whitmore and Brandon Hale. Looks like they opened it 2 months ago. May 10th, 2 months before the wedding. Not years before. Not even when they got engaged. 2 months before, they'd created the account specifically to receive wedding money. Moving fast, I said lightly. Kids these days. Patricia laughed. Everyone wants things instantly now. I thanked her and left. But as soon as I sat in my truck, I froze. A joint account opened right before the wedding, a $45,000 cash pool, a $60,000 total with checks, and Brandon kissing a married woman 2 hours before the ceremony. Everything clicked like tumblers in a lock. When I pulled into my garage back in Paradise Valley, I almost felt dizzy. The house looked the same as always, clean, warm, sunlight spilling across the tile floors, but I felt as if I were seeing it for the first time. Travis's old, dented Camry was parked crooked, again. I stepped inside as quietly as possible. From the top of the stairs, Megan's voice drifted down. She was on the phone. As usual, speaker volume turned up so loud it practically echoed. Yeah, Dad's been acting suspicious lately, she said. I froze mid-step. I don't know. Different somehow. But don't worry. Claire, Travis and I can stretch this another 6 months easy. By then he'll cave and buy us that condo just to get rid of us. My heart stopped. Claire's voice came through the phone speaker bright, crisp, confident, perfect. I've got 2 more months of playing happy wife, then I file. Half those gifts are legally mine in Arizona. Brandon already agreed to a 60-40 split. Easiest $45,000 I ever made. The hallway tilted around me. Megan laughed, and Brandon's little redhead doesn't even know about the plan. This is perfect. Dad's so busy being proud of your marriage, he isn't noticing anything. Exactly, Claire replied. Keep him distracted. Make him think you need something big. That way, when I ask for the $40K down payment, it won't seem excessive. Already on it, Megan said smugly. Asked him for a new car yesterday. He looked annoyed. But he'll come around. He always does. Everything in me went cold. They weren't daughters. They weren't even manipulators. They were conspirators. I backed away quietly, step by step, until I reached my office, closed the door, leaned against it, shaking. They had used me for years, together, with Travis and Brandon right beside them. And I had almost written Claire that $40,000 check, almost. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop and typed property lawyer, Phoenix, Arizona. Third result, Daniel Mercer, 25 years in real estate and asset protection. His office had a 900 a.m. opening the next day. I booked it. Then I sat back in my chair, staring at my closed office door. Outside, Megan was still laughing, Travis still pretending to be a man, Claire still plodding through a phone call she didn't know I heard. They thought the game was still in their hands. They had no idea everything was about to change. Daniel Mercer's office sat on the 23rd floor of a glass building downtown. I arrived 10 minutes early and spent them in the parking garage, going over my folder one more time, wedding spreadsheets, Emily's flash drive, my handwritten notes, timelines, quotes, and the ugly truth scribbled across 3 pages. The elevator ride up felt longer than it was. I'd made business decisions for 40 years, negotiating supplier contracts, handling employee disputes, surviving recessions. None of that made this easier, because this time, I wasn't protecting my business. I was protecting myself. The receptionist greeted me with a professional smile. "Mr. Whitmore, Armtus Mercer is ready for you." His office faced the Phoenix skyline, floor-to-ceiling windows, mahogany desk, shelves lined with law books and framed certificates. Daniel Mercer stood as I entered, 50s, gray at the temples, calm confidence in his handshake. "Mr. Whitmore, please have a seat. Coffee, yes." "Black." He poured from a carafe, handed me the mug, and returned to his desk. "I reviewed your intake form," he said. "You mentioned property issues, and family matters. Tell me what's happening. Start wherever makes sense." I opened the manila folder and laid the contents on his desk neatly. Methodically, my hands didn't shake. "1 month ago, I paid for my daughter Claire's wedding, $65,000. He nodded. 3 days ago, I continued. "The photographer showed me photos of my son-in-law Brandon Hale kissing another woman 2 hours before the ceremony." Mercer paused his pen above his legal pad. "You have evidence?" "Yes." I slid Emily's flash drive across the desk. "And yesterday?" I said, voice tightening. I overheard a phone conversation between my daughters Claire and Megan. I opened my notebook and read the words aloud, slowly, clearly. 2 more months and I file for divorce. Half the wedding gifts are legally mine. Brandon agreed to 60-40. Mercer's expression sharpened. "And your younger daughter," he asked. "She's been living in my house for 4 years. Her boyfriend, Travis Cole, lives with her. They don't pay rent. They don't contribute." I heard Megan tell Claire she and Travis could stretch this another 6 months, until I buy them a condo to get rid of them. Mercer leaned back, steepling his fingers. "Mr. Whitmore, do you want them out of your house?" "Yeah." "Do you want to protect your assets from them?" "Yes." He nodded. "Then we have clear steps." He pulled a thick statute book from the shelf Arizona Property Code, opened it to a flagged section and turned it so I could read. "In Arizona," he said, "your situation is straightforward. You own the property. There is no lease, no contract, legally. They are guests who have overstayed their welcome, and the process, I asked quietly, a 30-day eviction notice. After that, if they refuse to leave, the sheriff removes them. Judges in Arizona rule quickly on cases like this. You're covered." Something unknotted in my chest, a courtesy, not a negotiation. Mercer continued. "As for your assets, house, business, savings, the best protection is an irrevocable trust. We transfer everything into it. You retain control while living, but after your death, distribution follows your exact instructions. It is very difficult to contest." I nodded slowly. "I don't want them getting anything. Not after this." He flipped open a new file folder. "My fee for drafting eviction notices, creating the trust, and revising your will is $8,500. I didn't flinch. I'd wasted more than that on Megan's last emergency and Claire's wedding. A small fortune down the drain, that's acceptable." Mercer prepared the engagement agreement, detailed, professional, everything laid out, timeline, scope, fees. I signed. He countersigned. "Eviction notices will be ready by Friday morning," he said. "Serve them personally. That way there's no dispute about receipt, and the trust 2 to 3 weeks. My paralegal will coordinate with your financial institutions. Once everything is transferred, your daughters won't have access to a single cent unless you explicitly allow it." I nodded again, not out of habit, but out of resolve. Mercer looked at me seriously. "Mr. Whitmore, once you serve those notices and finalize the trust, there's no going back. Your daughters may cut ties completely." I met his eyes. "They made that choice when they treated me like a wallet. I'm simply acknowledging the truth." Mercer studied me for a long second, then extended his hand. "Then we're clear. I'll call you Friday morning." We shook. The elevator down felt faster than the ride up. Gravity doing the work, in the parking garage. I sat in my truck for a moment, the envelope of legal documents resting on the passenger seat. My phone buzzed. "Claire, Dad, did you think about the down payment? The house won't wait forever." I stared at her message. She thought she still had power. She thought I was the same man she'd manipulated for years. I deleted the text. Then I started the truck, at home. The house was quiet. Megan and Travis were somewhere inside, comfortable, confident, entitled. They had 30 days left to enjoy that confidence. I had 30 days to prepare for war. The envelopes arrived early Friday morning, thick, cream-colored, embossed with Daniel Mercer's return address. I placed them on my desk and stared at them for most of the day, not out of hesitation, out of finality. Once I handed these to Megan and Travis, the clock would start ticking. Their time in my house would officially end. By evening, I heard them in the living room, Travis talking loudly, Megan chiming in, the clatter of the TV in the background. Another night of comfort at my expense. I picked up the envelopes and walked down the hall. They were seated on my couch, side by side, relaxed as if they owned the place. Travis gesturing animatedly, Megan nodding proudly. Craft breweries are huge right now, Travis was saying. Phoenix market is perfect. We'd need maybe 30,000 to start. Your dad would see returns in a year. Easy. Megan laughed. He'll do it. He always does. Just frame it as helping family. I stepped into the room. They turned, smiling automatically, expecting me to join their enthusiasm. Without a word, I placed the 2 envelopes on the coffee table in front of them. Megan frowned. What's this, Dad? We're talking about Ben's? She corrected herself mid-sentence. Travis's idea, official eviction notices. I said, you have 30 days to find other housing. The words dropped like stones. At first, neither of them reacted. Then Megan lunged for her envelope, tore it open, eyes racing across the legal text, her face drained. Travis grabbed his, scanning aggressively. What the hell is this, old man? It's exactly what it says. You can't throw us out, Megan cried. We're family. This is my house, I said calmly. You haven't paid rent in 4 years. You don't contribute. You don't respect me. The notice is legal. 30 days. Travis stood up, towering over me, fists clenched, trying to intimidate me the same way he always did. What kind of father kicks out his daughter? A father who's finally done being used, I replied. Megan began to cry right on cue, tears spilling instantly, like she'd rehearsed it. Dad, please, please, can't we just talk? We'll pay rent. We'll figure something out. I walked toward the hallway without responding. You'll regret this. Travis shouted after me. You hear me, old man? You'll regret this. I reached my office and closed the door. Turned the lock. Behind me, chaos erupted. Megan wailing, Travis cursing, something crashing against a wall, footsteps pounding, angry whispers. I sat at my desk and listened. 10 minutes passed, then silence, then murmurs. I stepped quietly toward the door and pressed my ear against it. Megan's voice was sharp, urgent. He actually did it. Claire, 30 days. He gave us eviction papers. Claire's voice came through on speaker, cool and composed, like always. What do you mean 30 days? He said we never paid rent, that we were using him. A pause. Then Claire again. Lower. Calculating. We need to meet. Tomorrow. Bring Travis. Brandon and I will come too. We'll figure something out. Okay. More whispers. Then Travis's voice. Tight and venomous. He's going to regret this. Nobody humiliates us like this. I backed away from the door, sat at my desk again, and opened Mercer's email from earlier updated trust documents. Eviction timelines, asset protection steps. They thought this was about the house. They had no idea this was about everything. My phone buzzed. Claire, Megan told me what you did. We need to talk. Brandon and I are coming over tomorrow. This has gone too far. I read it twice. Not because I doubted her words, but because I recognized the tone. It was the tone Claire used at work when she believed she had leverage, when she believed someone was beneath her, when she believed she could fix anything with manipulation and charm. Let her come. Let them all come. I closed the message and turned off my phone. That night, Megan and Travis stomped around upstairs, angry footsteps, cabinet doors slamming, loud whispers, a door closing hard, but I didn't flinch. Those last 4 years, they had drained the life out of me. Tomorrow would be the first step toward getting it back. I sat at my desk and opened a fresh page in my notebook. Documented everything: Travis's threats, Megan's lies, the call with Claire, the reactions, the timeline, every detail Mercer might need if this turned into a courtroom battle. When I finished, I looked at the clock. 11:58 p.m. Almost midnight. Day 1 of 30 was ending. Tomorrow would begin day 2. And for the first time in years, I felt ready. Saturday morning. I came downstairs to find Megan lying dramatically across the couch in her bathrobe, one hand on her forehead, the other clutching her phone like she'd fainted between text messages. "Dad," she whispered weakly, without even opening her eyes. "I can't get up. My heart is racing. The stress from this eviction. I think you should call a doctor." Travis stood nearby with his arms crossed, trying to look worried but mostly looking irritated that the performance wasn't going as smoothly as they'd hoped. I walked right past them. "There's cold medicine in the cabinet," I said. Behind me came a beat of silence, pure disbelief, before Megan inhaled sharply in offended shock. They had expected concern, panic, attention, a softened heart, not indifference. I poured myself a cup of coffee and took it to my office, closed the door. Sunday afternoon, Travis cornered me in the garage. He blocked the doorway with his body, puffing out his chest like a bantam rooster. "You know what people are going to say, right?" he growled. His face was inches from mine, breath hot with cheap beer. "That you threw out your own daughter? Your pregnant daughter?" Pregnant. Megan wasn't pregnant. It was a lie meant to rattle me. So predictable it was almost insulting. I checked my watch. "You have 26 days left," I said calmly. "Move." He didn't. We stood there staring at each other for 10, 15, 20 seconds. His jaw clenched, his fists balled, but he stepped aside. I got into my truck, backed out of the garage and spent 3 hours at the hardware store. Reviewed inventory, talked to my managers, walked every aisle until my pulse slowed. When I came home, an envelope lay on my kitchen counter, handwritten, proposal. I opened it, 2 pages covered in Travis's handwriting. Sloppy, rushed, clearly prepared in desperation. Investment opportunity, craft brewery partnership. Initial capital required 50,000 terms. Megan and Travis remain in residence. Rent $500 per month a joke. Repayment within 5 years. Projected returns. Hi. I read the whole thing. He genuinely thought I would fall for this. Again. I walked into the living room. They sat side by side, each watching me anxiously. I handed the proposal back. "No." Megan's face crumpled. "Dad, we're trying to compromise." "No." I returned to my office with my dinner. I could hear them through the wall whisper sharp and frantic, accusing each other, then blaming me, then circling back to anger. Cabinets opened and slammed shut. A glass broke. More yelling. It didn't move me. Monday and Tuesday followed the same pattern. Megan cried. Travis threatened. Both bargained. Neither accepted reality. I kept my routines, worked, ate alone, closed my office door, ignored the theatrics. They began to feel less like people and more like background noise. Wednesday evening arrived, the day Claire had texted me about. "Dad, we're coming over for dinner. Brandon and I, we need to talk as a family. Not a suggestion, a declaration." At 6 p.m., they arrived. Claire carried grocery bags. Brandon carried wine. "We're cooking tonight," Claire announced, breezing into my kitchen like she was still 16. "You work too hard. Let us help." Brandon smiled in that polished salesman way he had. "Hope you don't mind us just showing up." Claire's worried. "We all are." They took over the kitchen. Claire chopped vegetables. Brandon set the table. Megan came downstairs in full makeup, acting fragile and delicate. Travis appeared freshly showered, wearing a shirt with buttons for once, an intervention, staged to look wholesome. We ate chicken and rice and salad in strained politeness. Claire talked about real estate trends. Brandon talked about car sales. Megan forced weak smiles. Travis pretended to be civilized. After about 10 minutes, Claire shifted gears, the way she did in meetings. "Dad," she said, folding her napkin neatly, "this house is a lot for you to manage alone. All the maintenance, the yard work, wouldn't something smaller make more sense?" Brandon nodded, easing into the pitch. "The market's great right now. You could get top dollar, make life easier, and the proceeds could help everyone start fresh. Megan and Travis could move out. Claire and I could get into our new place. Everyone benefits." Megan leaned forward. voice soft. Dad, we're just worried about you. It was coordinated, rehearsed, practiced. I set down my fork. I'm not selling my house. Claire let out a light laugh, but tension flickered in her eyes. Dad, no one is pressuring you. We're just trying to be practical. I stood up. Thank you for your concern. I'm fine. Good night. The chair scraped loudly as I pushed it back. I walked to my office and closed the door. Behind me, silence stretched, then urgent whispers, hushed arguing, strategizing. I called Daniel Mercer's cell. I need to see you tonight. It's urgent. I'll meet you at the office in 30 minutes. I waited until I heard their cars pull away, Claire's Mercedes first, then Travis's Camry. Then I grabbed my keys, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was finally stepping toward freedom, not away from it. Daniel Mercer's office lights were still on when I arrived. The 23rd floor window glowed against the dark Phoenix skyline. The building lobby was quiet, the air cool compared to the heavy desert heat outside. Mercer met me at the elevator. You sounded urgent, he said. They're coordinating, I replied as we walked toward his office. Their dinner tonight, it was a setup. They want me to sell the house, split the proceeds, let them dictate what happens to everything I built. He nodded slowly. I suspected they'd escalate once the eviction papers were served. Inside his office, he pulled fresh documents from a drawer. If they're attempting to influence your decisions about your assets, we need to accelerate the trust creation. How fast can we move, I asked. He sat at his desk, already typing. We start tomorrow morning. I'll bring in my estate planning partner to finalize the structure. We transfer your house, business interests, savings, retirement accounts, everything into the irrevocable trust. He turned his monitor so I could see. You remain in complete control while you're alive. But after your death, your instructions are locked, legally bulletproof. What about my bank accounts? We update the beneficiaries, remove Claire and Megan immediately. How much? For the accelerated timeline, plus the estate work, $5,000. I didn't hesitate. Do it. Mercer opened a folder. These forms authorize us to begin transferring assets as early as tomorrow. Sign here and here. Initial here. I signed everything placed in front of me. My signature felt steady, intentional, final. Mercer printed a second set. These are your personal copies. Keep them somewhere secure. When we finished, I placed the documents into the leather briefcase he handed me. Henry, he said gently, his voice lower now. Everything you've told me, everything they've said or done, you're not wrong to protect yourself. Most clients in your position cave long before this point. I shook my head. Not this time. He nodded respectfully. Tomorrow, we begin the transfer. The drive home near midnight felt different, lighter, as if the weight that had been pressing on my chest for weeks had finally shifted. Streetlights flickered past as I moved through empty roads. The desert air cool for once. When I pulled into my driveway, only the living room lamp was on. The rest of the house was silent. Megan and Travis had gone to bed. 2 empty wine glasses sat on the coffee table, a half-eaten pizza on the counter. They'd probably spent hours whispering with Claire, crafting whatever manipulation they thought would work. But they were too late. Inside, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from Claire. No voicemail. She never left voicemails when she wanted control. I imagined the conversation she and Brandon had after leaving my house earlier. The panic, the anger, the realization that I wasn't bending. Perhaps she sensed tonight that something had shifted, something she couldn't charm. Guilt, or twist her way around. She'd underestimated me. I went to my office and laid the trust documents on the desk. Tomorrow, Mercer would begin transferring everything. In 3 weeks, it would all be done. My phone buzzed again. Another text. Claire, we need to talk. You're being irrational. Call me. I deleted it. Upstairs. Megan's door opened. Her voice drifted down the hallway, muffled but sharp. I don't know. Claire, he didn't even react tonight. It was creepy. Like he already planned something. Pause. No, he won't cave. I know Dad. He always does eventually. But this time, something's different. Another pause. Just stick to the plan. Once he sells the house, we'll all get what we need. I closed my office door gently. Let them plan. Let them talk. Let them think they still had influence. Tomorrow, I would start sealing every exit they thought they had. I sat at my desk, pulled out my notebook, and wrote again. Tonight's dinner, Claire's pitch, Brandon's support, Megan's performance, Travis's attempt to act civilized, my reactions, their strategy. I documented it all. Precise, cold, factual. I knew I wouldn't sleep, but it didn't matter. The house was quiet, deceptively so, but beneath that quiet was the sound of gears shifting. Tomorrow would begin the real dismantling. Not out of revenge, out of self-respect. And for the first time in years, I felt something almost unfamiliar. Steady, focused, unshakable. A man no longer willing to be used. 2 weeks had passed since I handed Megan and Travis the eviction notices. 15 days remained. I set the dining room table myself that evening, 5 place settings. The good china I hadn't used since my daughters were young, cloth napkins, water glasses aligned perfectly. At my seat, I placed a manila folder face down. Inside were 8 printed photographs, the ones Emily Carson had taken, the ones that changed everything. Everyone arrived separately. Claire and Brandon showed up first 15 minutes early, just like people who want control of a conversation. I heard them whispering with Megan and Travis in the living room, tone low, strategic, tense. They thought this dinner was an intervention. I called them to the table. They sat. 4 faces, 4 agendas, 4 different flavors of manipulation. We ate in silence for 10 minutes. The scrape of forks, forced politeness, Brandon's rehearsed smiles, Megan's fake fragility, Travis's simmering resentment, Claire watching me like she was analyzing a quarterly report. Finally, Claire picked up her wine glass and shifted the entire atmosphere. "Dad, we've all been talking," she said. "This situation with Megan, it's stressful for everyone. Maybe it's time to simplify things. Sell the house, downsize, make life easier." Brandon nodded in support, playing the dutiful husband. "Your house is large," he added. "A lot for one person to maintain. You'd get a great price in this market. It would give all of us stability. Help Megan and Travis get started. Help us with our down payment." Megan leaned forward, eyes watery, voice trembling perfectly on cue. "Dad, we're just thinking about you. You're alone here. It's too much for one person." I didn't say a word. Claire reached out, adjusting the picture frame on the table, an old childhood photo. The gesture was small but territorial, symbolic. "You raised us to be smart. Dad, selling now is smart." I slowly set down my fork and reached for the manila folder. Before I opened it, I looked each of them in the eye. "Before we continue," I said quietly, "there's something you should see." Claire frowned, suspicious. "What is this?" I slid the folder toward her. "Photographs from your wedding?" She opened the flap. The moment her eyes hit the first picture, the color drained from her face. Emily had captured Brandon clearly, his hands in another woman's hair, his lips pressed to hers, their bodies closed in a way that erased any doubt. Claire flipped to the second photo, the third. Everyone worse than the last. Brandon's mouth opened, but no words came out. I kept my voice steady. "Those were taken 2 hours before your ceremony." Megan's hand flew to her mouth. Travis muttered, "Oh, shit." Claire's breathing turned sharp. "What? Where did you get these?" I didn't answer. Instead, I looked at Claire directly. "I also overheard your conversation with Megan last week." Her eyes shot to Megan, then back to me. I spoke the words slowly, deliberately. 2 more months, and I file for divorce. Half the gifts are legally mine. Brandon already agreed to a 60-40 split. You could feel the air leave the room. Travis shifted uncomfortably. Brandon stared at the table. Megan froze, her face pale. Claire held the folder like it was radioactive. I continued. "Calm and controlled, I've created an irrevocable trust. My house, my business, my savings, everything is now protected." I let the silence settle before finishing. "After my death, you'll receive only the minimum required by Arizona law. Not a cent more." Claire shot to her feet. "You can't do this. We're your family." I stood as well, not angry, just done. "Family doesn't treat me like a bank account." Brandon tried to collect himself. "Henry, let's be rational." I cut him off. "Megan and Travis have 15 days left to leave my home. After that, law enforcement will remove them. Megan burst into tears. Dad, please. We didn't mean. I walked toward the hallway. Behind me, voices erupted. Claire yelling, Brandon stammering excuses, Megan sobbing, Travis cursing loudly, blaming everyone but himself. I didn't turn around. In my office, I closed the door and locked it, sat down at my desk. Minutes later, the shouting escalated, Claire demanding I come out, Megan crying harder, Travis threatening to break down the door in empty threat, Brandon trying to calm everyone while minimizing his affair. I opened my laptop. Mercer had emailed me an hour earlier. Final trust documents ready for signature. Come in at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I replied, I'll be there. From the dining room, I heard the argument escalate again, voices overlapping, chairs scraping, someone slamming their fist into the table. They could argue all night. It wouldn't change a damn thing. The photos were on the table. The truth was spoken. The trust was almost finalized. 15 days until Megan and Travis were gone, however long until Claire and Brandon's fraudulent marriage finally collapsed under its own weight. I'd spent years being manipulated, weeks uncovering the truth, and tonight, as their shouting echoed through the house, I realized something important I'd already won. Mercer's office was bright the next morning. His paralegal, Jennifer Chan, was already seated at the long conference table, a stack of documents in front of her like a carefully arranged fortress. She stood when I entered. Mr. Whitmore, she said warmly, I'll be assisting with the trust finalization today. She was in her 50s, professional, efficient, the kind of person who could organize a hurricane if needed. Mercer joined us, setting his briefcase down. Everything's ready, he said. We'll walk you through each section. I sat and opened the first document. My name filled the top line, the Whitmore Irrevocable Trust. Jennifer slid a pen toward me. This document transfers your primary residence into the trust, she said. Upon your death, distribution follows these instructions you've outlined. Your daughters receive only the legally mandated minimum. I initialed and signed where she indicated. Next document, this assigns your business interests. Mercer explained, Whitmore Hardware will be held and managed by the trustee you selected. Another signature, and here, Jennifer continued, your investment accounts, checking, savings, all moved into the trust. More initials, more signatures, page after page, a new foundation for the rest of my life. This ensures, Susan said, tapping one section, that your daughters cannot challenge the trust. They can attempt to file motions, but legally, their chances of overturning it are extremely low. Good. I signed the final page. Mercer gathered the documents. That completes the creation. I'll file these today. Asset transfers begin immediately. I exhaled slowly, deeply. 40 years of work, finally protected. The drive home felt different, not joyful, not triumphant, calm, steady, unburdened. When I walked through the front door, the silence felt almost sacred, but it didn't last long. 2 days passed quietly, then the psychological warfare began. Day 2. I came downstairs to find my coffee maker smashed on the kitchen floor. Travis sat at the table reading a newspaper, pretending nothing was wrong. Oh, he said, shrugging. It slipped out of my hands this morning. I swept up the glass myself. 11 days left, I said simply. He stopped pretending to read. Day 4. I overheard Megan outside talking to our neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, her voice trembling Oscar-worthy. He's throwing us out with nowhere to go, she sobbed. I don't know what's gotten into him. Mrs. Patterson looked uncomfortable. I'm sure you and your father will work things out. I don't know. Megan sniffled loudly. He's changed. I closed the blinds. Day 7, Claire arrived with a woman I didn't recognize. Dad, she announced, this is Dr. Morrison. She's a psychologist. We think it might help you talk to someone. I remained standing. I didn't agree to any meeting. The psychologist smiled sweetly. Mr. Whitmore, your daughter is concerned about recent behavioral changes. Stop, I said. Both of you. Out, Dad. Claire started. Out. They left. Day 10. I returned from the hardware store to find my office door open a crack. I always shut it fully. Always inside. The The trust documents rested on my desk, not exactly where I left them. The corner folded differently. Someone, Megan or Travis, had looked through them. That evening, Megan was unusually quiet. Travis kept pacing. They knew now. The trust was real. Their lifeline was gone. Day 12. A soft knock on my office door. Dad Megan's voice, small, trembling, practiced. I gestured to the chair. She sat with a tissue already in hand. "I've been thinking about everything," she whispered. "You were right about Travis, about how we've been living." I said nothing. Her tears shimmered. Her voice cracked. She leaned forward. "I'm begging for another chance. I can change. I want to change. I want to be the daughter you deserve." Silence stretched between us. "Megan," I said finally, "if this were real, you wouldn't have come here asking for forgiveness as a transaction. You wouldn't be expecting anything in return." Her face flickered. The tears stopped instantly. "You want me to believe Travis corrupted you. But I heard you laughing with Claire about manipulating me, about the condo, about stretching this another 6 months." Her expression hardened. "Fine." There it was. The real Megan. "Fine," she snapped. "If you want to be alone, be alone. Don't expect us to care what happens to you. You have 8 days." I said, "Start packing." She stood abruptly and slammed the door behind her. "Upstairs." I heard the argument start immediately, Megan yelling, Travis demanding answers, both panicking now that reality had finally sunk in. I pulled out my calendar. 8 days until the eviction deadline, 3 weeks until the trust was completely finalized. My phone buzzed. "Claire, I hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family." I deleted the message. This wasn't destruction. This was protection. And for the first time in years, I felt safe. Day 30. The final day. I pulled into my driveway at 10 a.m. sharp. A Maricopa County Sheriff's vehicle pulled in behind me, and right after that, Daniel Mercer arrived with his briefcase. We had coordinated this down to the minute. Deputy Martinez stepped out mid-40s, calm, experienced, clipboard in hand. "Morning, Mr. Whitmore," he said. "Ready to proceed." "Yes," I said. Mercer nodded. "Everything is in order. Legally. They are trespassing the moment we step inside." We walked to my front door together. My house, my property. For the first time in years, I felt ownership, not just legal, but emotional. Still, I knocked. 3 firm knocks, inside silence, then Travis's voice, muffled and hostile. "Go away. You can't do this." Deputy Martinez stepped forward, voice firm and authoritative. "Sir, this is the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Open the door now. If you refuse, I am legally authorized to enter and remove you by force. That becomes criminal trespass." Silence, whispers, footsteps, Megan's voice, urgent and panicked. Finally, the door cracked open. Megan's face appeared, red eyes, defiant jaw, trembling lips. She opened the door wider as Martinez stepped inside. The living room was a disaster. Clothes everywhere, empty pizza boxes, takeout containers spilling off the coffee table, beer cans on every surface, nothing packed, not even an attempt. Martinez let out a slow breath. "You two weren't planning on leaving, were you?" Megan's voice shook. "We need more time." "No," the deputy said. "You had 30 days. Now you get 2 hours. Clothes and personal items only. No furniture, no appliances, no fixtures. 2 hours starts now. 2 hours." Megan shrieked. "Yes," Martinez said calmly, "and that's generous." Travis stormed in from the kitchen, unshaven, furious. "This is insane. We have rights." Mercer stepped in. "You have no rights to this property, no lease, no rent payments, no agreement legally. You are squatters." Travis turned on me. "You're really doing this to your own daughter?" I didn't respond. He always relied on emotional pressure because it had always worked. Not anymore. They stormed around the house, grabbing things in chaos. Megan stuffed clothes into garbage bags between sobs. Travis shoved items into a duffel bag, muttering curses loud enough for the deputy to hear. After everything we did for him, Travis spat. "Ungrateful old bastard." Martinez snapped his gaze toward him. "Sir, Watch your language. Focus on packing. The 2 hours passed in slow motion. At 12:15 p.m., they carried the last pile of bags to their beat-up sedan. Megan slammed the trunk. Travis kicked the bumper. At the car, Megan turned back to me, eyes swollen, voice breaking with rage. "You'll regret this, Dad. When you're old and alone, don't call us." I held her gaze. "I won't." She froze for half a second, as if she needed me to take it back. I didn't. She got into the passenger seat, slammed the door, and Travis peeled out of the driveway. Their car disappeared down the street. Gone. Deputy Martinez handed me paperwork confirming the eviction. "They're officially out," he said. "If they show up again without your permission, call immediately. It becomes criminal trespass." "Thank you, Deputy." Mercer shook my hand. "Well done, Henry. Most people break before this point. You didn't." Inside, the silence felt different. Not empty, not lonely. Peaceful. I walked through each room slowly, deliberately. The living room where Travis lounged like he owned it. The kitchen where Megan demanded money for groceries she never intended to pay for. The upstairs hallway they had treated like a private wing. All of it mine. Finally mine. That evening, my phone rang. Claire. I considered ignoring it, but something in me wanted to hear how the next movement in their collapsing symphony would sound. I answered. Her voice was icy. "I hope you're satisfied," she said. "You destroyed this family." "No," I replied evenly. "I stopped letting the family destroy me." Silence. Then her voice cracked just slightly. "You've changed. I don't even know who you are anymore. I'm the same person." I said, "I just stopped pretending you weren't using me." She inhaled sharply. "We'll see how long you last alone." She hung up. I set the phone down and let the quiet return. 3 days later, an unknown number texted, "Samuel Henry." I saw the photos. Look, Claire knew about my relationship too. The marriage was an arrangement. We were already planning to divorce. I'm asking you to stay out of it. I can make it worth your while. $10K if you stay quiet. I read it once, deleted it, blocked the number, another domino falling. Claire and Brandon's marriage had been a scam, both sides of it. They used each other, used me, used everyone, but their scheme had collapsed, their leverage gone, their money dwindling through lawyers and court fees. Meanwhile, my home was quiet, clean, mine, and for the first time in years I felt free. 3 weeks passed, 3 weeks of silence, 3 weeks without slammed doors, without shouting, without demands for money, 3 weeks of breathing my own air. Late August mornings in Paradise Valley had a particular kind of warmth sunlight that felt like it belonged to someone who'd earned it. I sat on my terrace with a cup of coffee, the desert stretching below me in gold and red. For the first time in years, the quiet wasn't heavy. It was freedom. The new coffee maker worked perfectly. The old one, smashed by Travis in passive-aggressive rage, had been replaced the day after they left. Small victory. Maybe, but meaningful. Everything worked now. The remote stayed where I put it. My chair held only me. The fridge had exactly what I bought and nothing I didn't. The pantry wasn't emptied overnight. The dishwasher wasn't filled with someone else's plates. I could hear myself think. Simple things. Revolutionary things. My phone sat beside me on the patio table, silent except for occasional alerts from the hardware stores. Megan had called twice that week, but I didn't answer. I didn't even listen to her voicemails. I simply deleted them. Claire had called once, too, asking for money. Of course, I need help with a down payment after the divorce. Just $20,000. "You're my father," I responded with one word. "No." She tried calling again. I didn't pick up. Megan and Travis had moved into a small apartment on the outskirts of Phoenix, cheap, cramped, exactly what they could afford without my money. Travis had picked up a part-time job. Megan was selling clothes online. They were surviving. Good. Claire and Brandon had finalized their divorce. Their lawyers carved up their wedding profits until hardly anything was left. Poetic justice. They had planned to split $60,000. Instead, they spent nearly that fighting each other in court. My phone buzzed that morning. An envelope from Mercer's firm arrived in the mail. I carried it back to the terrace and opened it. Final trust confirmation, Mr. Whitmore. The letter read, All transfers have been completed, but your trust is secure, filed, and active. Your business interests, home, and accounts are now fully protected under the trust structure. You retain complete lifetime control. All distributions after your passing will follow your written instructions. I read those lines twice. It was done. A legal fortress around my life's work. On the patio table sat a guitar learning book. I had my third lesson on Wednesday, something I'd always wanted to do but never had the space, the peace, or the self-respect to pursue. There was time now. On Friday, I'd volunteer again at the senior center fixing loose cabinet hinges, repairing broken lamps, small things that meant something to someone, helping people who appreciated help, not demanded it. My phone rang. Unknown number. I debated ignoring it, but answered. "This is Henry." A familiar voice hesitated before speaking. "Mr. Whitmore, this is Emily Carson, the photographer." I sat up straighter. "I'm not interrupting." "Am I?" she asked softly. "Not at all." "Emily," I said, "I'm glad to hear from you. I've been thinking about you," she said, wondering how everything turned out. I wasn't sure if I should reach out, but I hoped you were all right. Her voice carried a kind of gentle concern I hadn't heard from anyone in my family in years. "You did the right thing," I said quietly. "Those photos changed everything. You gave me honesty when everyone else gave me lies." She exhaled a sound of relief. "I hoped you'd feel that way. I wasn't sure. I'm better now," I told her. Truly better. A pause. Then I surprised myself. "Emily," I said, "would you like to get coffee sometime? I owe you a thank you. But honestly, it would just be nice to talk." Her smile was audible through the phone. "I would like that," she said. "Next week?" "Next week sounds perfect." When we hung up, the silence around me felt different. Warm, open, full of possibility. I looked around, the guitar waiting inside, the trust papers secured in my desk, the calendar marked with volunteer shifts, the phone, quiet except for real responsibilities, my home, finally mine. I thought back to everything that had happened. Megan and Travis thought I would crumble. Claire thought manipulation would always work. Brandon thought his charm would get him through anything. They were all wrong. I hadn't lost anything that day I signed the eviction notice. I had reclaimed everything. The sun climbed higher over the desert. I finished my coffee. Inside, a new chapter waited quiet, steady, honest. For the first time in years, maybe the first time in decades, I wasn't living for other people. I was living for me. I stood, set my mug down, and went inside. A guitar lesson to practice for. Coffee with someone who didn't want a single dollar from me. A life rebuilt on truth, not manipulation. Justice wasn't revenge. It was choosing peace over poison. It was saying no when silence had become self-destruction. I saved myself, and that was worth everything. 3 weeks after the final eviction, I realized something unexpected. I didn't miss them. Not the noise, not the demands, not the manipulation disguised as family. What I missed, what I had been missing for years, was myself. The version of me who once lived with dignity. The version of me who built a business from nothing. The version of me who believed that love and loyalty were mutual. The version of me who didn't apologize for having boundaries. That man was back. When I walked through my house now, the silence wasn't a punishment. It was peace. A peace I'd earned. Claire and Brandon finalized their divorce a month later. Not surprisingly, both walked away with far less than they expected. Their wedding profit evaporated into legal fees and arguments. Their arrangement, built on lies and greed, collapsed under its own weight. Megan and Travis struggled, but they survived. And maybe for the first time, they were learning what responsibility actually looked like. They called from time to time. I didn't always answer. Setting boundaries didn't mean cruelty. It simply meant choosing my well-being over their entitlement. Emily and I did get coffee, then dinner, then a walk through the Phoenix Arts District. She never asked for anything, no money, no favors, no emotional labor, just presence, conversation, honesty. It felt good. I wasn't rebuilding a family. I was rebuilding a life. And I was doing it the right way this time, deliberately, carefully, and without apology. I used to think that protecting my daughters meant giving them everything. But I learned something. When you give everything to people who give nothing back, you are not protecting a family, you are sacrificing yourself. And no one, not even your children, has the right to demand that. The day I locked the trust, the day I served the eviction notice, the day I stopped saying yes when everything inside me screamed no. Those were the days I reclaimed my dignity. Some people will call it harsh, some will call it cold, but anyone who has ever been used by the people they love will understand. Walking away is not cruelty. Sometimes it's survival. I didn't destroy my family. The truth simply revealed what was already broken, and when I finally stopped trying to hold it together alone, I discovered something better waiting on the other side, a life lived on my terms, a peace no one could take away, a future I didn't have to fear. I chose myself, and in the quiet that followed, I finally heard my own life begin again.